Thank you for joining me for part 2 of identity theft. And so, where I left off, I'm just going to jump right back into. So, when we start believing what other people say about us, it becomes very dangerous because we become an imposter. Because that's not who you really are. Even if you have messed up, even if that's who you were, that does not mean that that's who you have to be. That does not mean that that's the final, that they have the final say, that you will just always be a thief. You will always be a liar. You will always be a cheater. You will always be poor. You will always be dumb. No, none of that. You will always be divorced, known as a person that is no longer married. Those things do not determine who we are. And so once you start believing who you are, it turns you into something that you're not, and you become an imposter. And these are the things that God is talking to me about. We have allowed them to steal our identity. So we have given them the power to say who we are. And that's a very scary place, but that's okay because God gives us the power to take it back. God gives us the power to not only take it back, to find out who we truly are. We were created in His image. We were born to be Christ-like. We were born to not have to carry those burdens around in life, to not have to live in fear, to not have to live with anxiety and depression. We were born to walk in the freedom that Christ has for us. And so what happens a lot of times is people like to take ownership over you. They like to say, you know, that you're wonderful as long as everything's going their way and as long as you agree with everything. This could be at your job. Your boss thinks you're doing fabulous. And the one time that you mess up, they forget everything good that you did and then they fire you. And yesterday you were the best employee that they had. And today you mean nothing to them because you made a mistake and they fired you. That's why it is so important that we do not allow our identity and our emotions, our life, everything about us. We cannot leave our destiny in the fate of people. We cannot give it to people. We cannot give them that power. We have to know who we are no matter what happens to us. We have to know whose we are no matter what happens to us, no matter what circumstances are going on. We have to stay true to who we are and to who God says we are. And so that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, is that I was a girl that everyone said would not make it. And I made it. And every day is not a struggle, but I do struggle. I've struggled this year. I've struggled last year. I struggle weekly with different things. And, you know, most people's depression, anxiety, they think that, you know, that looks all one way. It does not. We all battle with things in a different way. And my mind races, like my mind won't shut off. And I have to take those thoughts captive. And I have to try to find peace in those moments of attack. And the enemy comes and attacks me in my sleep. He takes my sleep away from me. And I have to ask God for His strength to get through the days when that happens. And I have to be so careful to not give away my peace and my joy, because that is where we have the power. When we keep that peace and we keep our joy, because the joy of the Lord is our strength. That peace that surpasses all understanding allows us to deal with anything that comes our way without responding from our emotions. It's okay to be mad. But if you've ever been in an argument and you respond when you're mad, guess what? You probably regret it. You probably regret the things that you said, because if you would have took a couple hours, or sometimes it takes a couple days to get yourself together, then you realize that that's not what you wanted to say to that person, and that wasn't what was important for you to get across. And so it is really important to keep our peace, to have self-control, and not to respond in the moment, but to learn our boundaries, to learn ourselves, to know, you got to know yourself. You got to be like, okay, well, I'm not comfortable here. I've got to go. And you cannot really worry about what that does to everyone else, because in the end, it's going to affect you and maybe affect others around you in a negative way if you stay. So know yourself and know who God says you are. And the only way to know who God says we are is to gain a relationship with Him and read His Word every day. And so just this morning, I was looking through the Bible to say, what is our identity in Christ? And these are just a few of the scriptures that made me feel really good, empowered me this morning. And I was like, yes, I am who God says that I am. Psalms 139:14 says, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. First Peter 2:9 says, you are a chosen people, God's special possession. First Peter 2:10 says, now you are the people of God. You now received mercy. A lot of people just cannot forgive themselves. They just don't feel like they're worthy enough, that they're good enough. Well, God's mercy says that you are. His love says that you are today. And I'm so thankful for that. Romans 8:17 says we are heirs of God. You know, how cool is that? And so 2 Corinthians 5:20 says we are we are his ambassadors. And so that's, to me, that's pretty powerful. John 15:15 says he calls us friend. How sweet is that? That God calls us his friend. Now, I know what friends mean to me, and he is my best friend. But it didn't start like that. It was awkward at first. It was like, how do I even pray? How do I even talk to God? Well, you just do it. You talk to him like you're talking to your best friend. That's what I do. He's my conscience. I try to carry him with me everywhere I go. Even in the smallest situation, I don't want to do one thing without God by my side. And so the last one I wanted to share with you is Galatians 2:20. I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ who lives in me. So when we start reading the Bible and we start gaining this relationship with Christ, then we start to want to be more like him. And I promise you, once you get to know him and once you develop that relationship with him, you are going to want to be more like him. He has the best fruit, and it's what our world needs. And God is love. And I always say this, all we need is love. And people laugh at me and they're like, no, we need food, we need water. Well, God is our source of all things, and God is love. So all we need is love. And if we accept that, if we accept God is all we need, he will provide everything that we need in every area of our life. And so I hope I can help you know who you are if you don't know God, or remind you of who you are and who God says you are. Don't ever give someone the power to take away who God says you are. You are not based on your circumstances. You are not based on who you're hanging around with and who you're working with. None of that matters. What matters is who God says you are. Stay true to him. Keep working on you. Other people have enough to do on their own. Don't point out the flaws in other people. Just keep your heart right. Keep your heart posture right. Keep working on you. And I have my Hey Girl shirt on. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that song, and this is for guys too. It doesn't have to just be Hey Girl. But she has a really powerful song, and it's really fun to sing, and it's upbeat, and it says, I'm a blood-bought, battle-fought, all my shame long gone, brand new child of the King. I'm in holy water, baptized, came out brand new. It's just so many good things about her song that I can't even think of all the words. But the back of my shirt says it, but it reminds you who you are. And sometimes we have to sing this song, you know, to remind us who we are. And so you got to do silly things like that. You got to be your own cheerleader. You're not always going to have people in your corner. Sometimes you're going to lose everyone that is closest to you, but like one or two people that God will send just at the right time when you need encouragement. That's why it's so important to have that relationship with him, so that you can lean on him and you can depend on him. But I promise you, if you haven't heard the song Hey Girl, I just butchered it a little bit, but that's okay. She'll forgive me, but it's a really powerful song, a really good way to encourage yourself and remind yourself who you are today. And so do not let somebody steal your identity, and if they did, get it back. And even better, be who God called you to be today. Let him remind you who you are, or maybe tell you for the very first time that you are worthy, you are enough, and you will make it. Be blessed.